About 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day, Katie Greifeld alongside me is Bailey Lipschultz in for Romaine Bostic. And here to help take us through the closing bell, it's a global simulcast. We're joined now by Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec. We bring together all of our various audiences, Carol, and pretty big sell-off today after what we heard from Alphabet and Tesla and IBM after the bell last night.
Makes you wonder what Intel's going to deliver in just a few minutes. I'm looking at a SOX where most of the names are down again, and we'll see what we get from Intel in terms of what it has to say about its outlook and any AI commentary. That stock, by the way, down about 2.3% heading into earnings.
Yeah, no question.
For today.
No question megacap tech is certainly half of the backdrop for today's market. The other half, I would say, is what's happening when it comes to oil prices and concerns about inflationary pressures there, Bailey. I mean, you got Brent above $100 a barrel at one point today, now just below it, but up another 6% today, and WTI, the domestic benchmark, up more than 5%.
Yeah, Tim, it feels like a market that the last thing they needed after the prints we saw yesterday evening was oil continuing to rip higher. So it does seem like you're kind of getting hit from both sides if you're an equity investor, in particular if you're an investor who's been riding this tech wave, Katie.
Yeah, really nowhere to hide because you think about the sell-off that is fueling when it comes to the bond market. Yields higher across the curve. We're talking about levels we haven't seen since January 2025 when it comes to the 10-year Treasury yield. So not much in the way of havens right now. But let's take a look at how we're going to finish up on the day when it comes to this equity market on this Thursday. The S&P 500, it will finish off the lows, but that's not saying much because it's still down about 1.2%. Most of that pain was felt when it comes to big tech and was felt by the NASDAQ, down by about 2.2%. The Dow Jones, I guess that's your relative outperformer, our friend, the price-weighted index, lower by about 1% or so. And small caps as well, Carol, falling on the day.
Warms my heart when you talk about the Dow. S&P 500, 213 names, guys, higher today, 290 to the downside, Katie.
And let's take a look at the sector level as well, because bad breath across the board, at least if you're looking for gains. Industrials, that was your outperformer on the day, 1.8% higher. Healthcare higher as well. Just four sectors in the green. In terms of what didn't do too hot today, it's probably no surprise. You had communication services, consumer discretionary, consumer staples, and then big tech really weighing down this market.
All right, folks, as we await Intel earnings, let me just go to quickly some of the gainers in today's session. Got to talk about the defense area. We did see some outperformance in those names. Lockheed Martin shares up the most since 2001 intraday after the company. Let's go to Intel.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting Intel now. Here is the red headline on the Bloomberg terminal. It's their third quarter look ahead for revenue. They see it between $15.8 billion to $16.8 billion. That is above the estimate of about $15.06 billion. So healthily ahead of those estimates there. When it comes to the second quarter, their second quarter revenue came in at $16.13 billion, well above the estimate of $14.43 billion. And you're seeing beats across the board here when it comes to second quarter adjusted EPS, 42 cents. That is double the estimate of 21 cents. So a beat and raise quarter from Intel. And take a look at the shares right now, higher by about 5% after hours.
Yeah, listen, investors were expecting a lot. This stock has been down nearly 30% this month, so making it among the 10 worst performers in the S&P 500. It is still up about 171% year to date. We heard the president making some comments about the investment in Intel earlier today. Company's CapEx increase mainly on equipment, increasing capital spending for 2026 and 2027. The CEO, Lipschultz, speaking in an interview, so our Bloomberg team on it. And the CEO saying demand outrunning supply, saying production improving quickly. Investors, Tim, I got to say, seem impressed right now. Stock is up almost 4% here in the aftermarket.
Yeah, we're getting more commentary, too, from Lipschultz, the CEO of the company, in the press release saying that AI is driving unprecedented demand for compute. And as we continue to execute, Intel is well positioned to capture sustainable growth across our CPU franchise, advanced packaging, vast wafer foundry network. He says our Q2 results represent our strongest revenue growth in more than 15 years, enabled by greater speed, accountability, and customer focus. Shares of Intel up close to 5% in the after hours as we speak. The company says the foundry business has multi-engagements and that production is improving quickly.
Yeah, Tim, one thing to keep an eye on, though, we did see options implying a move of about 12%, so 5% now, 6.5% rally post-market. It'll be interesting to see if they maintain or extend gains as management gets on the call with analysts and investors, just given, again, the fact that, to Carol's point, stock down about 30%, but still up, Katie, well north of 150% year to date.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, if you take a look at the long-term chart of Intel, it's pretty amazing over the past 5 years. You had to just take off like a rocket, and it's a really interesting story because we know that the U.S., of course, has invented or invested in Intel. We know that that is a big piece of their turnaround story, but it's a turnaround story that they appear to be executing on, especially as Carol, you mentioned that they say that demand is outpacing supply, and that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ian King's reporting as we speak, a story out on the Bloomberg. The outlook underscoring Intel's gains with data center customers, which are clamoring for chips to satisfy demand for AI computing. Sales in that segment soared 59% last quarter. Thank you, Ian King. More than double the pace of Intel's overall revenue. So again, keep in mind the CEO took the reins just about last year or so, working to position Intel as a key beneficiary of AI spending. So, Bailey, we know that they've been working on a lot. They got a big boost by that U.S. investment, but it looks like some of the changes and some of the efforts are paying off.
Yeah, and we are keeping an eye just looking at the semiconductor ETF ticker SMH, up right now about 1%. So it does seem like at least the worst fears are off the table, and investors maybe dipping the toe back in some of these semiconductor stocks. But again, Tim, this has been a market where you look at the stocks, it's up 5% one day and down 4% the next. It'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow and as we carry on through earnings season.
Yeah, just to rehash some of these numbers, the Intel says the foundry business has multi-engagements. Shares up right now by 8.2%, bouncing around a little bit. Production improving quickly. The company's CFO says there's plans to raise capex from $18 billion to 20 billion for 2026. Lipschultz in an interview saying that demand is outrunning supply, and also that Intel is increasing, capex spending in 26 and 27. Capex increases mainly on equipment.
All right, guys, we're going to continue to track this one as it continues to build momentum in the aftermarket. Now up Intel shares about 9.5% here. So investors certainly liking what they got.